I have been hearing this talk back and forth for years, for 5 years now. Every year it's the same exact. Because I'm truly off. Like, I'm actually like pretty mad, and I never really express when I'm angry. I usually like to push it down and not talk about it. Now let me talk real quick.
Damn. Wait. Wig actually mad? Wig actually mad.
Damo tweeted, "It might become my life mission to try to convince EA/Respawn to start supporting esports orgs and Apex Legends." And then Minus Tempo literally said EA took a chance and supported orgs for years in good faith, which, by the way, is entirely true. Organizations within the partner program were literally receiving $100,000 just to be within Apex, which is not a crazy partner program, but it's still really, really good. It basically covers all the salary costs for teams year round, which is pretty wicked. That's a really, really big faith move.
He's right.
By EA.
He's right.
Sure, but I don't think that's
100K a year.
We'll go through it. And they said money just took advantage of the support, and both players/orgs did nothing outside of I started scrims, so I did my job, which is
true.
Started scrims, so I did my job.
True.
Which
See you
is
third prime.
entirely true. For pros that think that they just immediately deserve a salary because they stream, congratulations, that is not how a brand is built. I don't know if people need to go to business and content creation 101, but your brand is not built because you press start streaming. Your brand is built because you work on all layers and all forms of content throughout your stream and establish who you are within a community, not just by going live. That literally is an insane thing to think that you are entitled to $3,000 a month just because you scrim. Just scrimming without content and then going to LAN and not even making top 5 every single time.
On God.
Unbelievably.
On God.
Opinion that pros need to literally sit down and think about.
On God.
Man, my goodness gracious. It is unbelievable how much more I support pro players than they support themselves. Genuinely, it is unbelievable. I push out pro players more content than they push out their own. And that is entirely true. That is without a doubt correct. I support the pro players more than they support themselves. Not all of them, but majority. The ones that grind rank, the ones that create a brand for themselves. There are some that do that for sure. But that's not even the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this. Brother, the words, the verbiage, the unprofessionalism that pro players have within themselves and within their teams is a direct correlation to sponsors and organizations to not want to pick them up. And
name them. Name them. Listen here, buddy. It's easier to name the people that are actually doing it than the other way around. Brother, Apex pro players are the bottom of the barrel when it comes to anything. They literally do absolutely nothing, dude. It is crazy. And they've been doing that for 5 years. You know? Why do you think I tell everyone that you need to fucking start your stream and do your shit? No one's gonna fucking remember you when Apex is gone. Okay, buddy? Boom.
It's crazy to think about the entitlement that pros feel just because they scrim. That you are not entitled to anything. You are actually lucky that Apex right now in NA is such a niche esport that no one has come and taken your job. Because truly, bro, this shit pissed me off, and I have not been this pissed off in Apex and at the community in a very long time. Because this fucking discourse is so stupid. Like, it is unreal. And I'm usually a guy of good vibes. I usually never bring the negative vibes, but both sides are wrong. Dude, the pro Apex scene, it is unbelievable how entitled some people are. And when you say some people, every pro takes an offense to what you're saying. That is, when I say some people and some pros, I mean some pros. Some pros are deserving of $3,000 a month. And I'm not the salary guard. I'm not here to tell you who deserves what money, who deserves where. This is not my job. That's within the esports org.
3,000 is, like, by the way, like really low compared to NA. I don't think, like, a majority of the pros get paid at least, like, if you're in EU, you get like 3,000 if you're lucky, I think. But in NA, 3,000 is like very, very low for NA pros. I'm pretty sure it's like, I don't know, I'd say like 4 or 5 is like the bare minimum, I think, signed to in NA. right now.
Or to deem who is worthy. But for me as an organization and someone who wants to own an organization, I would never, ever in my life, never, I don't give a fuck. If you're not placing top 3 every LAN, there's not a world where I'm paying you.
Same old phone? Nah.
You $3,000 a month to even represent my organization. Because if you are
That's a little bit crazy to say. That's crazy. That's crazy. That take is really, really bad, though. That take right there just doesn't really make sense. The only thing I haven't agreed with him so far. Why I disagree, though? Because everyone can have a bad LAN, you know? You can't just, like, force people to be like, yeah, you gotta get top 3 next LAN or you're not gonna get paid, you know? Like, that's you know... you know, you can't just, like, just win every time. You know? All right, let's hear this again. Let me just, let me just make sure I'm understanding what he's saying right now.
or money, who deserves whatever. This is not my job. That's within the esports org to deem who is worthy. But for me as an organization and someone who wants to own an organization, I would never, ever in my life, never, I don't give a fuck. If you're not placing top 3 every LAN, there's not a world where I'm paying you $3,000 a month to even represent my organization. Because if you are not streaming, you are not tweeting, you are not creating a brand for yourself on other platforms, then why the fuck am I paying you?
Okay. I didn't hear the rest. Okay. That makes sense. If you're not Chronoton, Pretty Grand, all that shit, that makes sense. Why he's like, why do I want to pay you? But the first thing, I don't think he means it the way he says it though. No, I don't think he means what, like when he says that you don't get top 3. I guess he's saying if you get top 3 every LAN and you don't do any of the stuff, it's fine. Okay, I think he means like if you don't get top 3 every LAN, you have to be doing all the other stuff before I'm paying you. That's what he means. Okay, that makes sense. Because if you don't, yeah.
The thing is that chat, like, how do I like explain this? When you're like a professional player, you are not required contractually to stream. Like, you're a professional player, right? Your job is to perform as a professional player. Streaming and content creation has nothing to do of what you're supposed to be doing as a professional signed player. There is little contracts or individuals that are assigned to organizations for stuff like streaming. They're content creators. Pro players, they're not contractually obligated most of the time. Some orgs do it. You have like a minimum streaming hours, but it's like very low. They're not required to be a content creator, which is why most of them are not, in the first place. But at the other end of it is like, it is true you should be streaming because of so many reasons. Like, long term, if you don't do it, and you're not in an esport where it's like, there's not, a lot of money involved. Like if you're not in CSGO or CS2 or in League of Legends, Dota, fucking Valorant, stuff like that, like, it's in everyone's best interest to be streaming, right? Your interest, org's interest, whatever. But like I said, like the biggest problem is that professional players are not obligated to do what a content creator is. You just don't. You don't have to do stuff like that. Like, you're getting paid to perform. Like, look at the professional players in top tier esports. Like, look at them. Like, look at CS2 players. Fucking League of Legends players, all these other players, like, they don't stream, like, at all. Because they don't have time to do it. They just don't. They don't have the time to do it because they're practicing, like, with their team. And our game specifically is kind of like, it's just actually way different than a lot of other esports because we stream our practice. Every other esport, they don't do that. And they get paid enough at the same time to not have to stream and pour all of their time into being a professional player in their respective game. But like Apex, it's like you can stream your practice and it wouldn't really affect your outcome. People can't, they can, but they can't really like replicate your gameplay compared to other games. So each moment, thanks to 30 months. So it's like, I do bait. I understand why players don't do it. Like, ultimately, I've said this before on my own stream, is that like in the very big, since the very fucking beginning, like if it was up to me as an individual, I would have never started streaming. I never wanted to stream, like, at all. And I feel like it just seems to be like a professional player thing, is that like personalities of a professional player are just not geared towards it being a content creator. You just don't. Like, if there's either you have an extroverted person and you're a content creator, or you're more introverted but you're really good at games and you're a professional player. So it's like, you know, like look at Reps. Like look at Reps. Like he didn't ever really stream. Like he didn't take it as serious as I ever did in streaming, right? Because it's just who he is. Like that's just his personality. Like I've had countless conversations with him that he should do it. I've had my dad talk to his dad. I've had Jordan's dad talk to him. And ultimately, at the end of the day, Jordan's Jordan, and he's gonna do what he likes, and that's him competing and not streaming, because that's his personality. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. That's like the disconnect. I feel like it's like we expect pro players to be streaming and making content and posting all this shit, right? But like I said earlier, it's like they're not. That's not their job, in any way. And being a professional player is way fucking harder than it is being a content creator. Way harder. And that is why most professional players become a content creator eventually. Because that shit is so much easier and you make a lot more money. Nesto, thanks for Prime. So, I don't know, I've always been an advocate regarding like professional players building their brand, fucking streaming, posting content and all that stuff. But at the other, like I said, on the other side, it's like they're not required to at all. Like that's not their job. So can we really blame them? No. Would it be best for everyone? Yes, but well, yeah, if you're a professional player like in Apex, you don't really have time for content creation, and plus like there's no content to be created in Apex, which is why there's like no content creators outside. Like our content creators are professional players and all about competition in Apex. Why do I stream 8 hours a day consistently? Because I make a lot of money. I enjoy it. I enjoy doing it. It gives me a reason to get on and play the game. It's like a it feels like I'm like cheating the system, because if I consistently stream, I make a lot of money. But not only if I stream a lot, I'm doing my job as a professional player, which is not only playing scrims, but also putting in the time to uphold my performance, right? So it all kind of like connects like a spider web in a way. So like with that point, like it would be, you know, if a professional player is actually grinding, you know, doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is playing the game and upholding their performance and improving, you might as well be streaming it, right? If you're only playing scrims and then you're not playing ranked, I don't think you're doing a job as a professional player at all, right? If you're only playing scrims and not doing anything else, you're not doing your job. And if you are like playing ranks and doing other stuff outside of scrims, you might as well be streaming it, because why not? Like there is no downside to it at all. But at the end of the day, the reason why people don't do it sometimes is because, one, they don't like doing it. They're not required to, because they're a professional player. They're not a content creator. So like it's kind of like more on the orgs. I honestly blame the orgs at the end of the day with this whole problem, is because orgs pay like kids, teenagers, a lot of fucking money to sometimes do the fucking bare minimum, right? They do the bare minimum, and they kind of get away with it because orgs are just, I don't know, making a lot more money either, or they just don't know what they're doing. So I don't know. Well, Zero's not only like playing scrims, but he VOD reviews like constantly. Like he's not only just like playing it, but he's watching like VODs as a player. Like yeah, I think that Zero would be way better. Like I think he would improve and be consistently better if he played ranked and shit like that. But like, that's just like another Jordan situation. Like I'm not going to like. He's fucking Zero's 25. Like I'm not gonna. Like I can't do anything. Like he has his own fucking brain. But most of the time, orgs are not involved enough with their own players to do their job, which is like doing more than scrims, right? And it's like I don't know how. Like people don't like you don't put in the contract like you have to. The bare minimum is you have to play the game 8 hours a day, 8 hours or 5 out of the 7 of the days of the week. 8 hours a day. Like it's literally all like your own self responsibility to do what you're supposed to be doing. Orgs do not create any like consequence or incentive to do such a thing outside of just performing as a player. And if you don't perform, then you're gone, right? But orgs is just like, hey, we're gonna pay you this amount of money each month and we'll see how it goes. That's literally how it works most of the fucking time.